I'm going to provide a little overview on our project that we've been doing over nearly 2 years now. And Ben pretty much mentioned and provided an overview on the importance of drumming for our Native people. You know, in this day and age, in 2012, you know, with 500 years of difficulties in our Native populations, a lot of our culture has just been erased away. So we believe that because of this, these historically based traumas that our people, our population of American Indians have lost a big part of them ourselves. Me being Alaska Native, I can understand that. And especially living or growing up in the urban setting where 70% of American Indians, Alaska Natives, now live in the big city, you add that complexity to who you are, and you're pretty much facing an uphill battle on who are you. So we feel that by providing a culturally based intervention that our patients or populations, those suffering from substance abuse and other mental health problems, can have an opportunity to kind of get better, less depressed. This is our belief, and this is what the communities believe. And throughout the U.S., we've participated in many focus groups, both in the state of California and here in LA. And over again, communities say, we need culture. We need culture in the clinics. We need cultural interventions. We need traditional-based healing back for our people. Even if you've never been exposed to your traditional ways as a Native, we feel that, hey, this could really be helpful. So drumming's been a big part of our historical importance in our American Indian nations. It's a sacred instrument, as opposed to some other populations who may use drumming, and it's fine. You know, people use drumming all over the world, all ethnicities, but for American Indians, it holds a sacred value. Using, as Ben mentioned, ceremonies and other special ceremonies that are meaningful to our people. So I'm going to kind of go more towards the project, but just to start off with a quote, here's from an unknown American Indian. The drum connected me with something I hadn't known before, and I felt a huge lump in my throat that was equal parts sorrow, gratitude, and joy. When I was coaxed out of my first intertribal dance, I closed my eyes and felt the drum and began to move my feet. It was magic. I could dance. It would be a few years before I was graced with the drum teachings of my people, but there was a spiritual connection nonetheless. Once I felt the drum in my chest, the hollowness I'd carried as a displaced Indian kid was gone. In its place was belonging. So in addition to what we think could be culturally based benefits from drumming, there is science out there showing that the drum beat or the rhythmic stimuli has some positive effects on the brain. And much like meditation may influence brainwave activity, drumming's been also shown to increase brainwave activity, specifically alpha and theta waves, and to also integrate the brain. So your so-called lower animal part of your brain kind of connects more with your frontal lobe or your rational thinking brain, so that you can kind of connect your feelings and your thoughts a little more in line. So this could be very important in recovery, where you're facing all kinds of difficulties and problems with being in touch with your emotions and figuring out ways to get clean. So here's just some of the brainwave activities, and drumming's been shown to help with the alpha and theta waves, and that's where you have meditation type effects. So you're more relaxed, you're more reflective, you're in a more healthier state of mind, and this then helps with, you know, healthy neurotransmitter production and kind of coordination in the brain. So our people, our American Indians and Alaska Natives, have the highest rates of substance abuse compared to any other U.S. group of every drug class: cocaine, hallucinogens, cigarettes, marijuana, alcohol. And there's a lot of variation because American Indians are comprised of over 560 federally recognized tribes. So it's different among some different groups, and higher and lower in others, but overall, Native Americans have the highest rates. And we think it's, again, because could be many factors, but one could be the loss of culture and having culturally appropriate treatment available in the clinics that the community wants. We have evidence-based practices, and they may work for American Indians. There may be some challenges, but then you have community-defined evidence, what the community looks upon as being helpful for the people. And traditional-based practices have been shown to be a community-defined evidence, or have community-defined evidence, where this could be very helpful for the people, but we don't have studies. Today I'll present some preliminary results on our research for our first group of participants. So can we use drumming in your everyday clinic? I mean, walking into a clinic and having been, or other cultural leaders, lead a educational group of drumming. And then you see your psychiatrist and counselor, you know, at 1 o'clock, you know, go to drumming at 12 and bill for it. Then go to get your bill for it, right? This is I forget what kind of meeting this is. But the DMH on that regard is really helping the Native American community tremendously. We have a great connection with LA County DMH with our new innovations project, where we're integrating traditional healing and kind of leading the way. Even on a worldwide level, people from all around the world are looking at what's being done in LA, so I have to really say that sincerely. So how can we use drumming in the clinic that's acceptable to the population, that follows proper protocol of doing it correctly in the cultural way? So we got the first ever National Institutes of Health grant to use drumming through Washington, D.C., 2010, to do a pilot study to finalize the development of a protocol or program. So we have our preliminary program of providing a drumming intensive outpatient program, an IOP, intensive outpatient program for American Indians with substance, alcohol, and drug use problems. So we propose to provide a program for 3 hours a night, 2 nights a week for 12 weeks, with each week focusing on a step of AA and progressing from step 1 to step 12. And we'll just jump to this slide. With the first 3 weeks, looking at the eastern direction of the medicine wheel, this is the Northern Plains conception of wellness, and we teach those concepts in the first 3 weeks, twice a week. Then weeks 4 through 6 on the bottom, there's teachings of that part of the medicine wheel, which focuses on the physical. Then Western direction, weeks 7 through 9 on the psychological, and then we end weeks 10 through 12 on the mental. And each of those, the steps of AA are included as well. So it's not just drumming, but it's the main piece of our program is drumming. So 3 nights a week, we have 1 hour of education, because with American Indian drumming, you may go to some other drumming workshops and there'll be drums everywhere, and right now everyone will be drumming. You know, that's a common approach in some health training programs. Sorry if those of you who were wanting to drum today, we're not doing that format, because with American Indians there's a heavy emphasis on education and understanding what it really means first before drumming usually. So we have the first hour of education, then the second hour drumming, and the third hour drumming activities, and then the third hour processing group, or a talking circle, which would be pretty much a group that you would have in your substance abuse treatment center. But with American Indians, it's a specific approach that's for American Indians. So in the first hour, we cover drumming concepts, what's the meaning of the songs, what's the medicine wheel all about, how can the 12 steps help out in a Native American way. There's an organization called White Bison in Colorado Springs, headed by Don Cahoyas, who has a cultural-based approach towards getting clean for American Indians. So we reference his program with his approval, and he's totally backs up our project. So we find that this is necessary first before drumming, or at least to really emphasize that consistently. So what we decided to do in the research project is, okay, we have this program, it got funded through NIH, National Center for Complementary and Alternative Medicine, NCAM. So then we said, okay, we made it up ourselves here with some, what we believe could work, but what does the community think? What do providers think of this? What do elders think of this? So we did three 2-hour focus groups with providers, patients, and a community advisory board, of which Ben's on the community advisory board along with 3 other cultural leaders to flush this out. You know, what do you think of this? How could it be improved? What would be the benefits? And a full discussion. Then we had, then after that, we provided this to 10 American Indians, Alaska Natives, which we'll provide you the results of that, which went really well. Then final follow-up focus groups. What did you think of that 12-week experience from the patient's point of view? And this was all developmental activities in order to then create a manual, which that's where the stage we're at now. We've gone through all these steps. Now we're beginning the manual. Then the last part of the grant is to prepare for a follow-up, then randomized controlled trial. How could we then go to that step? So after all the focus groups, we had them among providers. 9 providers was 1. 9 American Indians with histories of substance abuse, then community advisory board. So there are 4 overarching themes. So this was a qualitative study. We have, meaning just talk and words, and the spoken word. And we used a computer program that pulls out the main themes of what was talked about. And the 4 main themes were, from all 6 hours of focus groups, was that 1, drumming can be beneficial for American Indians with substance abuse problems. Number 2, but you need to assure that this is culturally based for American Indians, based on traditions. And number 3, you have to provide this with a format that could accompany or be deliverable, recognizing the huge diversity of tribal traditions. Some tribes, like Ben mentioned, don't drum. Some use rattles here in Southern California, for example. And there could be various differences on how men and women participate, and other related issues. And then number 4, speaking of that, how would men and women participate in drumming? Because usually men drum only in most tribal nations, and not up front here. We quickly found out. So some tribes women drum, and they have the honored seat at the drum, or there are. But usually men don't. I mean, men drum and women accompany, but it could definitely be, it depends on the tribe. So you have to, whatever the community traditions are, that's what we advise you use for your community. So just some quotes from the groups. One community advisory board member, we have all these focus groups accepted. It's going to be published in American Journal of Drug and Alcohol Abuse in September. And here's a quote: "You want to teach definitely the significance of drumming, and Native people feel that drumming is sacred. It's the heartbeat of the earth and Mother Earth. The target is also educating and hands-on experience, and have your own creativity to you making the drum, and on top of that, teaching how to create the drum." Speaking of that, the program we have is, on the first session, you make your own drum. So to kind of give you that experience and that educational experience. And after the focus groups, at first we were going to have individual hand drums for each person, but then the community advisory board and the focus group said, many tribes, women are not going to want to touch the drum or drum themselves. So what's used in Southern California primarily is the powwow style drum like we have here, where men drum and women are behind the men dancing, singing. So we used that approach for the first group, but knowing that we could use hand drums or will use hand drums in the future. This is the Stanley Cup of drums. So this is the drum that was very first drum made by participants in our pre-test. So they made this drum on a day that must have been about 105 degrees last summer, and weathered through the pre-test of 10 people participating in the pre-test, and Ben led the way. We got these materials ourselves. We went to the shops and got all the materials, so then the participants could learn how to make it, which they did. So we're proud of this drum, Stanley Cup of drums. Those of you following the Kings who are ahead 3-1 in the playoffs. Unfortunately, they lost last night, so we'll have to wait till Saturday in Newark, New Jersey. So I think there are a lot of people who haven't even been to very many traditional ceremonies of their culture. So it's really important to keep that going. I know the main thing has to do with sobriety and recovery, but again, it goes hand in hand. And this is the most excellent way to facilitate that and to reintroduce the blending of these things because it works. This was a community advisory board member. So we think that in the big city here that many natives, including myself, even though my mom's full native and grew up on the Arctic coast of Alaska, I still didn't have a lot of connections to other natives at all growing up. So you kind of lose touch or start off the get-go in life without your cultural teachings oftentimes. So especially in the big city. So community advisory board people said, hey, this would be good. Let's see. So the one last quote, the urban Indians are really natives not learning the cultures and where they are. This is important to know for their part of the nation. Urban Indians need teachings also, as well as the people from the reservation. The people from the reservations are no different than urban Indians, because on the reservation we've used all the same drugs that took us away from our culture. In interest of time, we'll go to the pre-test and just provide you some. And what was really important in the keynote talk was talking of research. So here we have some research data on what our first really 8 people experienced in participating in the 12-week program. So in our group of 10, the ages range from 19 to 67. We allowed an older person due to this person's status in the community and in native cultures of elders, being big parts of traditional based activities. And we're looking for feedback too, people to tell us what they thought of this. We had 6 males, 5 female, most with education range from 10th grade level to 1 person with a master's degree. 9 of the participants, alcohol was their drug of choice, 2 marijuana, 6 were divorced, 4 single, 1 married, 7 employed, 3 unemployed, 1 disability. I really apologize. This is not in the book because we just got this data together, and you can't see, it looks like, with all these numbers. But I wanted to show that there were a few areas where we saw some improvement. If you go to the very last column, the BSI, this is a measure of anxiety and depression used in many research projects. The lower the score, the better in terms of depression and anxiety. And we have 5 people who completed all 12 weeks. And these are these 5 people. And if you look at the brief symptom inventory, or the BSI, the first person went down from 21 to 13, 21 at baseline, 8 to 6 weeks, 13 score at 12 weeks. Second person went down from 47 to 28, third person 39 to 33, fourth person 29 to 13, then 23 to 15. So we saw some decreases there. And then cognition, which is your thinking ability, clarity of thought, memory, and these type of things. Here the lower the score, the better on this one. Here someone was about the same, 22 to 25. Someone improved 53 to 33. Another person improved 63 to 32. Another person improved 34 to 25, and then 21 to 15 in cognition. Now, the cultural identity did not change much. So you didn't, how you thought of yourself culturally. And I was thinking about that. I was probably thinking, well, over 12 weeks, you're probably not going to be some surfer beach guy or gal, and then all of a sudden be this medicine person walking down the street. I don't know how much you could change totally in 12 weeks, but not a whole lot of difference in this. But spirituality we have in the second column, and the higher the score, the better. The first person is 73 to 84, 64 to 82, then 79 to 88, 44 to 63, 73 to 89. So there's increases consistently of some improvement in spirituality. These are 3 people who just completed at least half. So here, in just baseline to 6 weeks, one person went from 61 to 80, 49 to 41 went down. One person 68 to 84. And then the BSI on the end, one person's depression, anxiety went down 24 to 7, 105 to 65, and 4 to 0. So you're probably wondering, okay, how do we measure spirituality? How would you measure spirituality? So in research, this is a big question. How do you know you're better spiritually? What does that mean? How do you explain that? How do you know that I'm feeling better spiritually? That's really subjective. So to put this into an objective research paradigm, how do you do it? So we use this, what was called Facet Spiritual Questions Expanded, that's used in, and I just added these slides at the last minute because we just put together this data just now. But here's the questions on the spiritual. Here's what they use. It's, I feel peaceful, I have a reason for living, my life has been productive, I have trouble feeling peace of mind, I feel a sense of purpose in my life, I'm able to reach down deep into myself for comfort, I feel a sense of harmony, my life lacks meaning and purpose, I find comfort in my faith or spiritual beliefs, I find strength in my faith or spiritual beliefs, my illness has strengthened my faith or spiritual beliefs, I know that whatever happens with my illness, things will be okay. I feel connected to a higher power. I feel connected to others. I feel loved. I feel love for others. I feel forgiven for any harm I may have caused. Throughout the course of my day, I feel a sense of thankfulness. Throughout the course of my day, I feel a sense of thankfulness for what others bring. I feel hopeful, appreciation for nature, compassion for others. So these are what's used in the spirituality scale. Some generic type questions that hopefully could cover a wide range of spiritual-based beliefs. In American Indian cultures, I don't know if the data shows that about 60% are Christian, 40 traditional. I don't know exactly. Maybe Ben knows more, but I think it's about half and half. So I think it covers, whatever spiritual belief base you have. And then it's on a numerical score, so 0 to 4. Not at all to very much. So our participants, that's how we tallied up the scores. So far there's preliminary promising data. We can't hang our hats on this. This is just first group of people. So it needs more study in the future, randomized controlled trial type of approach. So that's about it. Drumming could be great for American Indians. We need to focus on culture and further research in this area. So I think Ben now will finish, and then we'll have time for questions, open discussion.
myself that makes my heart soar. You know, I have that feeling. And as a singer and drummer, we're taught that instrument there, there's spirits in there. Spirit of that tree, spirit of Mother Nature, the animal. For us to bring that out with our voices, we sing from our hearts, sing from our soul. And some of these songs are very ancient. They were composed centuries ago. They were composed for a certain reason, a certain purpose. That song I sang there originally it was an old warrior society dance song, but it evolved into more of our modern times as a social dance song. Sing it at some of our social gatherings, like powwows. But this particular image on the screen there, that circle represents life, represents all of the universe. Everything revolves. Our whole universe is constantly turning. The same way our Earth revolves around the sun and the moon around the earth. We relate to those. We say that moon has a effect on us and all water, moisture here on this earth. So the different phases it goes through, as it comes closer, as it becomes full moon, you know, it has an effect on our lives. And then the same with the sun, that ball of fire up there, you know, that magnetic force. It has control over us, you know, it has an effect on us. So for us to understand that, to have a relationship with it, is very interesting today in our lives. A lot of Native people don't really understand it that deeply, how it's connected to us in our everyday, every moment that we breathe on this earth. Not only does it require our grandmother moon, father sun, but at the same time our mother earth. See, we relate it in terms of relationships. The same with the way we Native people, when we help somebody through counseling, through prayer, ceremonies, we don't sit that person down and say, oh, this is my client over here. That kind of puts a wall, a barrier up. We say, okay, if it's a young lady, I'm going to call you niece today. I'm going to call you my daughter today. You create that relationship. Therefore, it creates a trust. It creates a comfort. So from that point on, that person can say, oh, hello, uncle. Hello, dad. They'll say things like that. So you're helping that person. It's your relation. So we think of it in terms of helping our family, whether they're biologically related to us or not. From that point on, that person is going to feel something wonderful every time they see you around. It's not because you have any type of magic or because you have any type of medicine that attracts that person to you. It's because you open that door, that relationship. That's the big difference that I see in how we address mental health. Because in our traditional ways, we say to that east side, we have the spiritual, down to the south, the physical, to the west, the psychological, your mind, and then up toward the top, you have the mental, so that all encompasses your emotions. That's the result, what you feel and how you address people around you. So that medicine wheel is a very good analogy. And along to that east, we say that color, there's colors assigned to it. There's the color yellow. And we say that color yellow also represents the Asian person. And then down to the south, the color white, the European, the Caucasian person. To the west, the color black is assigned there to the African American, and then to the north, the red people. And they say that there was also the 4 elements assigned to those people, that we all started from that center point where those 2 lines come together. That's what people call first man and first woman, Adam and Eve in the Christian Bible, biblical teachings. And from there we populated, and as we decided to move in the 4 directions, the Creator gave us all instructions. He gave the Asian people the instructions to take care of the air, all that it encompasses. Down south, the Caucasian people gave them the fire to take care of. You look back in history, you see how they developed that. And then at the same time, the black people gave them the water to take care of. And then the native people, the red people, gave us the land, told us to take care of it. That's why our understanding about the land is very important. But you can't separate those. They all work in harmony. And that's what our prayers are all about. Our prayers are for these four elements to work in harmony for us to survive here, to continue in this life as one people. When we travel to the four corners of the earth, it was the Creator's natural laws, natural values and principles, the environment, the climate that changed the color of our skin, the shape of our eyes. That's where our language is developed from the spiritual side of life. And from that point on, we looked at it and said, one day we're going to all come back together with an understanding and bring those elements. That's when we'll rise to the next spiritual level. We'll have respect for one another. Those are the kind of things that we talk about. So we have a responsibility. And then we tell our relatives that are having problems, you're better than that. You're better than picking up that smoke or picking up that alcohol. You're better than that. I say that because somebody told me that, and it made me think. They told me that your ancestors before you, they didn't have those things in our culture. It was introduced at a time when the people that introduced that alcohol to us wanted something from us, so they used that, so it was easily taken. And then from that time on, nobody ever showed us how to use it. It was never part of our culture. Even today in our teachings, when we teach around that drum, when the people sit around it, there's no drinking, there's no drugs. It doesn't fit in there. You're going to cause problems. You might hurt yourself. That's what we tell them. It's that serious. It's that powerful. So we look at that and we tell ourselves, you know, even myself, if I speak those words and I have to live by it, I can't say those words and then go run off and contradict myself. You know, so in that way, it's a way of life. It's not just something done, you know, just on the weekends. That's what we tell them around this drum. And a lot of times our gatherings are only on the weekends. That's because we don't work. You know, we had to abide by those customs of trying to help our families. So in other words, well, we're in the same boat as everybody else, you know, trying to make a living and keep a roof over our heads, trying to feed our families, clothes on their back. We want the best of life for our kids. We want them to have education. We want them to be healthy. So we try to tell them that includes your culture. Without that culture, you're going to have a tough time. That's the way we see it for us Native. I think it's that way for all of us. You know, when you look back at your culture, when you look back at the important things that your ancestors did, then that's the key to a good life, the way I look at it. And in this White Bison, the organization that created this structure here, they say culture is prevention. When you include as a family, you participate in your culture as a family, then you're going to keep your kids away from these things because their best example is their mom and their dad. In our homes today, there's a lot of single parent families. Most of them are the women that take the responsibility of raising the kids. See, there's half missing there. There's not that male counterpart, that male influence, especially with young boys. So we see young boys that were raised by the moms grow up and they have no role model. So they don't know how to nurture a good relationship. They don't know how to take care of a woman. They don't know how to nurture a family. You know, myself, I could say that because I discovered that even though I had a mom and dad in my home, I had areas that I had to work on because I had 2 failed marriages. I'm in a 3rd relationship right now. I had kids in both of those marriages. And I look back and I have a lot of regrets. You know, I had to fix myself. I had to straighten up my life, and I still have faults. So that's a part of of these teachings, I include my own analogies, my own experiences. A lot of clinicians, they won't do that. They won't talk about themselves. You know, how if you don't open that door of relationship, it's hard to get people to understand you, where you come from. You know, so in that way, I really feel open to talking about myself when I do these groups, when I have one-on-one counseling situations. So I'm really happy that the DMH here in LA County is open to those kind of philosophies, that we're able to talk about these kind of things. If you look at you went to a traditional self-help group like NA or AA, you'll see those 12 steps written in straight lines like this. And it kind of gives you the image in your mind, because Native people, we're really big on visuals, hands-on. In my own family, the written word was not part of my upbringing. My parents were the first ones to be put in boarding schools, to be presented with a book. My grandparents didn't know how to read. They didn't know how to speak English. So my parents were the first ones, and they just graduated from high school, and that's as far as they got. So when I went through school, you know, I had a tough time because I couldn't turn to my parents for help. I knew more than they did when it came to conventional education. So in a way, the written word was kind of tough for us. That's why Native people still have a difficult time in our education system. But when we look at a visual like this, and you look at those words, and that 12-step put in this fashion of the medicine wheel, the first 3 steps toward the east, that's the beginning. Everything, our traditional homes, the doors open toward the east. That's where the sun comes up. That represents springtime, renewal of life, where life begins. Those first 3 steps are finding the Creator, finding a higher power, finding God, if you will. And then you go down toward the south, down those next 3 steps, 4, 5, and 6, is finding yourself, getting clean, clearing your mind, and start looking at yourself, going through an inventory, as they say in this. And then at the same time, you move on as you go on in this 12-step process in this medicine wheel. 7, 8, and 9, that's finding others, a support system. It's finding a group that you're comfortable with, a sponsor, those kind of things. And then as you go through the next steps of 10, 11, and 12 toward the north, that's generosity, giving something back. That's if you have something that you really enjoy, being stingy with it is not the way to go. Giving back is the way to keep it. So that's what I found in a lot of these self-help groups. And then looking at this process, and then also really beginning to understand this 12-step program, being a part of this process, I really started looking at those 12 steps and then breaking it up into that quadrant, 3 steps in each direction. If you look in week 1 to 3, there's the Creator's name mentioned there. Down south, you see it again. And then over to the west, the Creator's name is mentioned again. And then toward the top, what does that last one say? After having a spiritual awakening. This is a spiritual program. You could take that word alcohol or drugs out and put anger in there. You could put relationships in there and help yourself to realize what's going on in your life. So this process, a lot of people say, oh, that's about substance abuse. I don't have a problem. You know, but everybody has situations, things they're dealing with. There's no perfect human beings. You know, so in that way, again, it doesn't matter what color skin you have, how much money you have in our pockets, or what language you speak. We're all brothers and sisters. So in that way, I just wanted to say that much, and thank you very much.
So I think now we have some time for questions and comments, discussion, probably for about 15, 20 minutes. Then we should get out before lunch. Yes?
You said that...
Are there any microphones? Yes. Okay.
You said that the funding for the project was in 2010?
Oh, just one second. You're going to have a microphone. And both Ben and I, you could ask questions, both Ben or me.
I know Mr. Hale, so I'm addressing my question to you, Dan.
I'm on the spot.
You said that they actually funded the pilot in 2010,
Yes.
and it has been completed. What month was it completed?
But it will be completed. We're probably going to get a short extension, so into the fall of this year or winter.
All right.
Yes.
I want to thank you for your presentation. I'm a Tlingit Indian from Southeast Alaska. I was raised in Pasadena, and I feel so disconnected from my culture and everything, and so it was really healing to be here. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I just like the opening prayer of the conference, and then now, Ben, I love the drumming. It's just really beautiful in your singing. I find myself kind of going back, eons or generations back into the old humanity or something, and being connected with that. So thank you so much. It's beautiful. I also wonder if I could get a better copy of that medicine wheel thing right there. Is that on the internet or something where I can print it out or something?
Yeah, whitebison.com has various .org. I mean
.org.
White Bison. White Bison.
Okay.
One word. .org.
Okay. Okay.
But we could send you one if you want to give me a card or email.
Okay, or I could email. You have your email.
Yes.
Don't you? Yeah. So I could email you at that address.
Yeah, and my email is at the very end and in your booklets.
I go to the alternatives, and I've gone to the alternatives conference, and they have mentioned this was done, I believe, as a workshop at the alternatives conference also, so it definitely sets my pathway.
Yes, we presented this at the National Center for Complementary Alternative Medicine Conference in West LA last fall.
I'm talking about the National Alternatives Conference.
Yes. Thank you for mentioning.
Hi, Ben. I just wanted to share something. As a child, I grew up in a farm, and my grandfather used to keep up all the animals alive with drumming. Every time an animal was dying or anything, he would do the drumming, and they would come back alive. So it's beautiful.
I just want to thank you for your research, because being connected to your culture as an African American, totally be able to relate, whereas being disconnected is huge for healing and for just cognitive functioning, in my belief. So I thank you for your research for your people. And I have a question in regards to drumming for other cultures. And I participate in drum circles where I live, and I get lost. I'm in the drum circle, I'm dancing, and I feel a spiritual connection when that happens. So do you think drumming could be a therapeutic tool used cross-culturally, is my question.
I believe so. I think something like this could be used as an introduction to your own culture. And that's the way we approach it, because not all tribes use the drum. Some of them used to use it, but then they've been removed from it. So it's just like a doorway for them if they choose to go through and then bring back their own families to ask their elders. Because in our traditional ways, we don't have no organized hierarchy like a organized religion. It's our elders that we turn to. So in that way, that's why I don't really have no title. Dan gave me the title of cultural leader, but at the same time, there's no school for that. There's no certificates. Myself, I just attribute my father for being real strict with us and teaching us those things. And then at the same time, it embedded an interest for me, because my brothers and sisters were the same way, but they didn't quite follow it like I did. I would sit in ceremonies and stay awake all night, just fascinated, wanted to know more, and then participating in powwows, I was just fascinated with my own culture. So I listened because it was in my heart. And then later on, you know, little did I know all of that would come into play. Especially when I have my children, I raise my kids that same way around this powwow drum. They don't sit, and my daughters, you know, I have 5 daughters and 1 son. Two of my older daughters, they grew up around this drum, and they have a lot of respect for it. I could sing a song and they'll back me up. We call them our chorus girls. You know, there's a certain time that they come in and sing, and it's real pretty like that. You know, then at the same time they learn to dance around this drum. A person that's unfamiliar with it, they might see a bunch of people dancing around the drum and say, oh, they're just dancing in circles. But when you understand it and you grow up dancing around that drum, then these songs have a special significance, not only to your ears, but in your heart and your soul. And at the same time, I always raised my kids to have respect for their cultural lineage, their bloodlines. I said it's good to get an education, but just as important, if not more important, is who you are, where you come from. I said, then practice it. So I taught my kids how to dance. I make them their outfits. And then now they're making their own outfits, and it makes me feel proud, you know. And then at the same time, I told them what my father told me. Even things like an eagle feather. My father gave me an eagle feather when I was young, learning how to dance. And he said, take care of this. He said, if you take care of it, it's going to take you a long way. It's going to take you many places, meet a lot of good people. So at the same time, my daughters, as they got older and were starting to go out on their own, they brought me a feather and said, this man gave this to us. You know, so I used cedar and I cedared it off and I fixed it up for them. And I told them the same words. I said, you take care of this eagle feather. It comes to one of the center feathers on the eagle tail. I said, our people have a lot of respect for that. They communicate with the spiritual world through that feather. The spirit of that eagle is still connected to it. I said, that's our belief. So what you believe is manifested in your reality. So I told him that's the way my dad taught me, and that's the way we pass it on. It's not in any book. You might find it written, but only recently are these things written down. So I told my daughter that. I said, you take care of it. It's going to take you a lot of it. And sure enough, she traveled all the way up into Canada, and recently she was a part of Queen Elizabeth's Diamond Jubilee, and she went to England like in the middle of May, and they performed for the Queen over there in Windsor Castle. And then 3 of them got chosen to be a part of the reception, and she said they were all in there just networking, and 3 of those native performers, and they said door opened up and here walked in the Queen. They came right over to the Indian groups, started visiting with them, shook their hands. So my daughter called me and says, Dad, you're right. She goes, I was wearing that feather. We were wearing our dance clothes. So myself, I see those things happen in my life. You know, you have vision, you speak the words, and then you see it happen right in front of you. That's amazing to me. That's the way my ancestors believed. So if you have those kind of problems where you have substance abuse, you chose that, you know. And even though you might have been brought up in a dysfunctional family or whatever, you have a choice not to do that. You're better than that. That's what I was told, you know. So in that way, this curriculum of the White Bison is wonderful because it's on paper. I went through a couple of those trainings, and what that putting it on paper and the written words done is it made it consistent, where it can go to any native community, and a spiritual leader or a community leader can read that and then interject their own teachings appropriately to their own community. And so it's wonderful. So in that way, all of this work that Dan's doing and that we're doing, is our ultimate goal is to make it evidence-based, so that we could create a manual and that it could be reproduced in another community somewhere else. You know, and it could be recognized as an evidence-based program for Native American people. So that's wonderful to me, and without DMH, you know, this probably wouldn't be possible. So I want to thank you again. Thank you.
Just real quickly, there's an organization called Health Rhythms that is a drumming education program for a general population. So they have research as well on drumming. That's for general populations, not American Indian per se focus. But those of you who have an interest in drumming and are not native, or you're still open to learning and go to powwows here in Southern California, come to our clinics and talk with us, sure. But there's also general programs out there. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry, we have a question up here.
Hi, I'm Alicia Delfino Holt. I'm an acupuncturist licensed in the state of California and a practitioner of alternative medicines and indigenous medicines. These are the gifts of my sobriety of 17 years. And before I get to my brief questions, I would like to thank you, Ben, for your courage and your honesty in your journey that has brought you to bring in the ancestors and the spirits and fill this room with healing for us. And Dan, also for your dedication to the work for the research. I'm a doctoral fellow and of course interested in research, so one really quick, would like to be able to get contact information for you to get the statistics that you put up because they're helpful to me.
Sure.
And also, so has the groups that you have done in this research, has this just been here in this community? Is it on reservations throughout the nation, just here for now?
Right, it was here in LA. So this whole project is taking place at United American Indian Involvement, the largest clinic serving American Indians in LA County, right here on 6th, near the 110 and the 6th Street right here. So right here in the urban setting is where this program's been. It's been really interesting and great also to see most people who participate in this first pilot just never drummed or even sang. And a big part of drumming is you sing. So most people did not have singing. And you don't need singing background, but it kind of is an evolving process to learn how to sing. And it was really great to watch people progress from being nervous, a little self-conscious, especially among your own heritage. You're nervous about your own heritage. How am I going to look to others who are really real natives, or who grew up on the reservation or village? And so people were able to break out of that shell a bit and kind of feel connected a little more. So it's great to see right here in LA that happening. So, but yeah, our future goals are to do it in other places as well, and more here in LA.
Have you done any extended work into the Al-Anon and the extended family, or have the focus just been on recovery for the addict?
Right, this has been focused towards substance abuse, but we definitely have it open for any physical, mental health problem as well. So it could be depression, traumatic exposure, diabetes, what have you. We're definitely open. As Ben mentioned, that the 12 steps and the program could be used for anything you want improvement on.
Again, thank you, Benjamin and Dan, for your dedication to this work.
Hi, I'd also like to thank you for your presentation this morning. I grew up in a culture, the only blonde child in the village, that drumming was really a part of the culture. And so the first part of my question is, now that you're winding this up, do you have plans to expand and maybe look at how applications with maybe non-native people would look? And that was the first part. Second part is, as you were unfolding the 12 steps as part of your program, did you get any pushback? Because you typically think of that as being a Judeo-Christian origin.
Yeah, I'll answer the first part, then Ben could answer the second part. So the first part, we're looking to really develop this at this point with American Indians, specifically at this point, because there is a specific niche of importance based on culture and spirituality that really deserves and needs a lot more work and attention. So we don't have the time or focus yet on comparing to other nationalities, although that, there's a guy named Barry Bittman, a neurologist who has done research with drumming as well in general populations. He's a neurologist in the state of Washington, just so you know, and he has stuff But not at this point, we don't have those plans.
Most of the participants have already been introduced to like AA or NA. They've gone through a lot of those processes, but then at the same time, it seems like they always get stuck down in the south part, and that's the inventory part. You know, that's difficult for anybody, but Native Americans seem like they're really secretive. You know, it's hard to get past that hard shell. You know, but at the same time, we have to be patient, just work at it. That 12-step program, a lot of the participants say that they continue to go, but for some reason they don't quite participate as much as I think they should. So taking it in this context with our traditional philosophies, we can take that 12-step deeper to the point where they see the light at the end of the tunnel. They see through our culture that it fits together, and that there is a correlation that makes sense to them, and that's done through participants and also facilitators who've been where they're at. So I do understand what they call peer advocacy, because the counselor that we use also is a working counselor at one of our Native substance abuse programs. So he has really a lot of insights and been through the 12-step program himself. I learned from him. He learns from me. So we go through this process with the thought of that we don't know it all. We know we don't know it all. We want to absorb what we don't know. Hopefully we can use that as part of our repertoire to help people to understand better about themselves and the world around us. That's what one person asked as a question one time. He asked a Native person, what is it to be Indian? And then I might say Native American, a North American tribal Indian person, because there's other Indian. There's original Indians, what we call East Indians, that used to be Hindustan. Those are the real Indians. We were just labeled that name. See, the word Indian is foreign to us. My name for my people is Dene. That means the people. We have a word in our own language for ourselves. It was the non-Indian people that gave us that name of Indians, But at the same time, we as Native people, there was that question asked, what is it to be Indian? Then that man, he was an elder, and he said, it's not wearing feathers, it's not singing songs, it's not dancing, it's not sitting with our legs crossed and praying. He says, it's our relationship with the world around us. He said, that makes us who we are. It's our relationship with the Creator, God Almighty. That's what makes us who we are. That's what he said. It made a lot of sense to me. So in that way, I hope I answered your question.
I think we have time for one more question.
I want to say thank you very much for presenting the information to us. I have two questions. One of them is, of the 10 people that participated in the study, what happened to the 5 that filtered out? And what happened to the 5 that graduated? Are they continuing in a 12-step process? What happens to them, or what is happening to them?
Right, so we had 5 people totally complete, then 3 people did complete at least 6 weeks. And of those 3, it was about 7, 8, even 11 weeks. Someone went to it but did not complete at the last. So there is some confidential issues, but I could provide general statements, and that we found that we got some discussion with these individuals, not afterwards, because the intent of this was to get their impressions while they're doing it, so it could help us with finalizing the approach and to find out how they benefited. But we've noticed that people are interested in continuing with drumming and finding ways of staying connected. This is pretty much like a exercise program. If you do an exercise program for 2 months, you go, yes, my life is perfect now. I can stop. That's it. Problem solved. You know, this is a life philosophy, a life journey, a life recovery path. So we tried to, and Ben was our, you know, really provide all this education to our participants that, you know, you need to continue with this. And we admit that that's what we're working on now as well. How can we connect our participants to continue in a concrete way? And that's what we hope to do further in the future. But some people dropped out for some, you know, for, you know, personal related reasons. You know, and that could be some reasons that you would find typically in substance abuse treatment. So yeah.
I'd like to point out this system again. It's just like you go through that 12-step. Once you get to that 12-step, you're not finished. In this process, you start all over again. Each time you go around that process, you're going to find out something new. You're going to find something that's more helpful. You're going to find insights. You're going to start giving something back. And that way, it's never over. So that's what we encourage in this program. We tell them there's an AA meeting or NA meeting in your local community. Go find one that's comfortable to you. Continue this process. Go to some of our social gatherings, powwows. Go over there and check it out. Get active. You know, so that's how we try to encourage them. And then I see some of these people in the community afterwards. How you doing? And they come up and say, hello, Mr. Hale. You know, and they approach me like that. And I say, how you doing? They tell me they're doing okay, you know. So that's all we can go by is their word. And, you know, just like we talk about in this program, and just like it's said in these self-help groups, you're only as sick as your secrets. So verbalizing those hurts, verbalizing those secrets is the key to releasing them. So verbal tradition is a part of our culture, not the written word, but it's helpful.
So we'd like to thank you for coming. Feel free to keep in contact with us. We'll be around the rest of the day as well. And if you need evaluations, I have extra up here. I'll just leave up here at the front.